Gotta have
Oh
it.
yeah, that's great. That's fantastic.
Welcome to Talkin' Jets. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside our panel, Green Bean and Joe Blewett. How are you boys doing tonight? Green Bean, I'll kick it to you first. Where are you? Are you still in the Pacific Northwest or whatever?
Indeed, I am. I am in Oregon for 3 more days, and then I'm heading north, if you can believe that. But yeah, I'm still right here in the jungle, ready to talk some Jets, man.
Joe, how you doing tonight?
Doing well, man. Ready for the season to kick off in about, a week and a half-ish. So really excited. Got my film done, so I'm really relaxing right now and waiting for the season.
I love it. I love it. Joe, you got something special coming out tomorrow. Why don't you let the guys that are joining us tonight know what's going on for you tomorrow?
Yeah, so I made a few appearances here, so hopefully you know me at least a little bit by now. I'm gonna be doing a similar thing. It's gonna be like probably not twice a month, probably like once a month. YouTube live call-in, same type of deal. Like I said, monthly, not a weekly thing like you got going on, just because the YouTube channel that I have is more film-centric. But Jets X Factor tomorrow night, 6 to about 8 o'clock. I'm not sure if there's a hard deadline on the time, but call-in number, everything. YouTube chat, the topics, the 53-man roster prediction, all of that. It's me and my buddy Kyle, who's a film-centric guy too, but we want to conversate a little bit more with the listeners, which we don't really get to do a lot. So
I love it. I love it. Guys, if you have not followed Joe or Green Bean, their links to the channels are down below in the description. Make sure you follow them. They put out some great Jets content. They're both very, very knowledgeable and appear regularly on this channel. All right.
We do.
We'll jump right into it. We've seen a lot of injuries over the course of the last, month, 3 weeks. It's been brutal. We've lost Perriman, Vincent Smith, Mims, Jeff Smith. God, who else? I mean, literally like every wide receiver we have. We're throwing out names I've never heard of before and letting Sam Darnold attempt to throw to him. So let's start the question. Should the Jets add another wide receiver? Green Bean, I'll kick it to you first.
Why would we want to add another wide receiver? I don't understand this logic. I think that we're fine. I think that Juju Seishan, or whatever his name is a star in waiting. And who'd we just sign? DJ Montgomery. He was also good. So we're gonna be fine. That all said, I really do think that Perryman and Mims come back, and we're all gonna forget about this panic attack we're having. I don't know. I think if we could make a trade for somebody decent, that'd be fine. I see a lot happening on September 5th or 6th, but I don't think we're going to be able to find anybody worth a damn at this point from the scrap heap. So I don't know.
Joe, how are you feeling about the wide receivers, and should the Jets add another one?
yeah, it depends obviously who it is, and if we're talking trade, if we're talking free agency, but I think really anybody out there, whether it be a Taylor Gabriel or even a Demaryius Thomas. Listen, like I said, Demaryius Thomas might not be the favorite of Jets fans. He's not a wide receiver 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5, but I have more confidence in him than Chase Young, or whatever the guy's name is that Green Bean was talking about, or Moncrief, or whoever else, guys up to who've been cut and were sitting out there on the streets from practice squads and things like that. So I think they definitely need to add a wide receiver. I'm hoping that Green Bean's right in terms of, okay, those guys come back, but we saw last year the Jets injuries. There's always a possibility, especially with soft tissue stuff. Your hamstring can appear great, not feel it at all, and then one cut and your hamstring's blown out for 6 weeks, and then 6 weeks turns into 8 weeks, and then 9, and then 10, and just look at CJ Mosley. So I am concerned with the injuries. I'm hoping it's more precautionary type stuff where they get a little bit tweaked and they're just sitting them out to be careful. I'm not sure if it's just the Jets this year in terms of other teams and their injuries, but it is concerning because we've had so many. Every single practice, like, oh, this guy's down, May is down, oh, Perriman's down, now Herndon has chest tightness. Like, I don't know what the hell is going on. So, it's gonna be interesting. But yeah, add a receiver. Darnold's in a bad spot right now.
Yeah, I'm concerned. You're going into Darnold's third year, and he's throwing to the likes of guys we've never heard of. I don't think it doesn't help him. My thought process, I think, on this is I don't know if we're going to be able to trade for a receiver right now. I would like to get like a Juju or Robinson or Gabriel, one of those type of guys, but I don't think that Douglas is necessarily going to pull that trigger right now. I think he might wait till the offseason, which is a little concerning. I think what we're probably going to see is more 2 tight end sets. Definitely try to use Herndon and Griffin at the same time to try and maybe have 2 wide receivers on the field and then the running back, or maybe we do 2 tight ends, Bell and Gore or Bell and Pirine. Pirine looks like he's only got an ankle sprain right now, so he might miss like a week or so. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And then you're only putting out Crowder and maybe one other person. Hopefully Perriman comes back, and then you get Mims back. The depth is definitely concerning. I don't really believe in Moncrief. I think he's too injury prone. I don't believe he's ever played a full 16-game season where he's actually started. I think the most he's had is like 12 or 13 games in a year, which, I guess if we can get our other healthy guys back, you don't need him to play a full season, but I'm definitely concerned with where the Jets stand right now. Are you guys in favor more of a signing or a trade? I guess it depends on who it is. If you had to sign one wide receiver or get one wide receiver, however that is, who would you kind of gear yourself towards? Joe, I'll throw it to you first.
Obviously a trade would be ideal if it was for a guy like Juju, but I just don't think it's going to happen. With the Steelers, say what you want about that team and them not being ready for a championship run, but I think they think they're ready with Big Ben coming back, with how good that defense is, how many turnovers they forced last year. So I don't think with an aging quarterback you're going to trade one of your best weapons. So I don't think that's going to be realistic. Could you trade for Allen Robinson? Maybe, but these are all rumors that are started on Reddit and stuff. So I don't know if the Bears are actually shopping him. But if you could, then yeah, one of those guys is great, or would be great. Obviously. Contingent on them signing a long-term deal with the Jets. I don't want one-year rentals. Other than that, the guys in free agency, it's probably just Demaryius Thomas at this point, because the season starts in a week and a half. Taylor Gabriel's the better player in my opinion than Demaryius Thomas. The Jets are loaded with a couple of slot options though, with Crowder and Berrios. I don't know if you call that loaded, but they have a couple of guys there. But yeah, I would say Demaryius Thomas at this point. I think it's a smart signing to make. Again, it's not Julio Jones. It's not going to excite anybody, but would rather have him out there or Moncrief, who can't catch a cold at this point. So,
yeah, I think you're spot on. Demaryius Thomas knows Sam Darnold. He knows Adam Gase's system. He knows he's in an accelerated offseason, can come in a pinch and at least like contribute more than one of these guys that has to go through a COVID protocol and is now missing a week and a half of camp, at this point. So I like the idea of bringing in Demaryius Thomas. I did hear somewhere, and I think it might have been on Jet Nation. I don't know the validity of this. I have not followed into it much, but I thought I read somewhere that Demaryius Thomas was only considering coming back and playing this year if it was for Denver. So that might be the reason we did not get him back. I don't know if that's 100%, but I did hear something like that. Green Bean, who would you possibly look for to kind of solve our wide receiver problem, or at least alleviate a little bit of the pressure?
Yeah, that's what Demaryius Thomas. That's what's called a beggar being a chooser, isn't it? Like, nobody wants me, but I only want to go to this one team. That makes a lot of sense. But look, Demaryius Thomas, I agree. He already knows the offense, so there's that. He's definitely way past his prime. There were a lot of plays that he took off last year. I wasn't in love with his production. A couple of drops as well that are glaring and stick out. But he's better than somebody coming in cold, not having any idea, any previous history with the offense, but he doesn't look like he's going to come. I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of 23 personnel. Has there ever been an offense that was receiverless, or maybe even a 22 with Crowder or something like that? Just the whole time, just get these guys out there, punch everybody straight in the mouth, and just go. Look, until Mims and Perryman and Vincent Smith and whoever else come back. Bringing in these guys that are going to be bottom tier. Whoever's available right now is bottom rung, man. And that includes Moncrief. I'm just like what was said. I'm not the biggest Moncrief fan. I did like him coming out, and I thought he had a couple decent years there, but he's another one who can't stay healthy. This is not the group to come in and join if you can't stay healthy, man. This is not the place to recapture your previous health. It just doesn't seem to be that way with us. But I think I would rather see what, Berrios, Crowder, and obviously Mims and Perryman have than just keep bringing in these guys. But the scary part is that the injuries are just starting. We haven't even played a damn game yet. So it's going to be really interesting. It's going to remind us of last year. I mean, look, we were bringing guys off the practice squad, and they were getting put on IR a week later. So I don't know what's going on. It's definitely alarming, but I'd rather depend on the staff. I mean, on the players that we have, and just utilize the team that's out there. If we have healthy tight ends and running backs, let's throw healthy tight end and running backs at them. That's what I would think.
So let's, while we're talking about weapons, we'll talk about Kalen Ballage. He failed a physical. He's back in Miami. We get our draft pick back, or our conditional draft pick back. What's the thought around this? Should the Jets be looking for some type of running back? I know we've seen P. Ryan banged up a little bit. I don't know. What did you think of Ballage, Joe, and do you think there's an issue with him not being on the team?
No, I don't. Why? If he were to make the team for a 7th round draft pick, honestly, I wouldn't be very. It's a 7th round draft pick, but maybe you could package it and move up, whatever it may be, a couple of spots. So I don't get the trade. That's obviously heavily Gase influenced, and a lot of people will come out, and this is why I'm not a big stats guy. Oh well, his 2018 he averaged 5.3 yards per carry with Gase and 1.8 this year. Okay, well, like all of that came from 175-yard run because he ran the ball like 20 times for like 180 yards or whatever it was. So minus that, he's run for like 2.8 yards per carry minus that one run. So I think he was brought in for like special teams and a body, but especially with the Jets, one of their deepest positions is running back with Perrine, who hasn't had a serious injury, with Bell, who hasn't had a serious injury, with Gore, who hasn't been injured since 1970 or whatever when he's been playing, really. And then you have Josh Adams too, who I thought that Joe Douglas liked decently because he was there with him in Philadelphia. So I don't think that he was really ever going to make the team. So I thought maybe it'd just be a camp body. I think he will be cut by the Dolphins. Maybe the Jets do bring him in, but I just don't see him making the roster at this point. He's been a really ineffective running back. So didn't like the move. Don't care for the move. He's not a weapon. He's garbage. It doesn't matter.
Green Bean, anything to add to that?
Yeah. Well, no, I agree with it. I mean, I don't, obviously it's a Gase move, but I do like what Joe just said, and I think it's more predicated on potential special teams contribution. Boyer, our coach, our special teams coach, lost Trenton Cannon, and he's on record as saying he's one of the best gunners that he's ever coached. So maybe there's a little bit of there's a little bit of that going on behind closed doors, and that maybe they thought Ballage could contribute there. Look, I'm going to pull out the emotional card, and I think that if we're going to bring another running back in, let it be Bilal Powell. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? Look, and I know what it is. This is my homeritis. I do suffer from it. But I do like the guy. He still hits the hole fast. He's still, and most times that he has the ball in his hand, he's getting positive yards. I think especially for running back 3 or even 4, he would be fine. But I, just like Joe said, I actually like Josh Adams as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't he Philadelphia's leading rusher 2 years ago? So, I mean, he only had like 700 yards or whatever it was, but he was the leading rusher on their team. He has NFL experience, and it's not bad NFL experience. Like was said, Joe Douglas has a history with him. I think he's better than we're giving him credit for. I don't think he's going to take over the the main job or anything like that. But I think we're okay there. Balaj, it confused me. It's just one of those things like, hey, they like who they like, but I don't really, I don't get it, and I'm glad it didn't work.
Yeah, I was definitely one of those guys that was not too thrilled with the signing. The way Joe brought up the 75-yard run in one of his games, if you average everything else out, I think it wound up being 3.2 or 3.1 yards per carry outside of that. So really nothing impressive there. I like P. Ryan. From what I've heard from like the few tweets I've listened to and some of Robbie Sabo's, talking about P. Ryan, it sounds like he's actually doing all right. What do you think, Joe?
There's a guy in this room who did a film breakdown on him, and I said I liked him more than most Jets fans do. I don't fall for the this guy's not explosive or that guy's not explosive. There's plenty of running backs in the NFL who aren't overly explosive. I know this might not be the best example in terms of best running backs in the league, but Bilal Powell wasn't the most overly explosive guy, but is a guy who was super effective for the Jets for many years. And I think if you gave him more run in 2014, 15, 16, he would have been a decent starting running back. But unfortunately, he was just reserved to a backup type role. But I like Perrine. I like his contact balance. I like his vision. I like the power in his lower half. I like his reads. I like his pass protection for a guy in college who usually doesn't have, or college running backs don't usually have good pass protection. I like his acceleration. I like a lot of stuff that he has. So he may never be a guy who's overly explosive, but is going to pick up solid chunk yards. Maybe not being 50, 60 yards, but 10, 20, 30. He just burned the Jets defense for a 60, 70-yard run the other day. So he's a guy who is not necessarily Tariq Cohen in terms of speed, but has plenty of it. So you could be an effective running back with solid burst and acceleration. Top-end speed doesn't matter as much. Obviously, you want it, but it's something you don't necessarily need. Just look at a guy who's on his team who's super effective throughout his career. One in Gore and two in Le'Veon Bell. Neither of those guys are burners, and they're two of the best running backs we've seen in the last 20 years. So I don't fall for that speed type crap. I think he's a good running back. So I'm excited for what P. Ryan offers in the future, what he's going to offer.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we know Greenbean has loved him since the draft. He was preaching him back in, what was it, the third round, I think you were calling him for?
Yeah, I was thinking late third, early fourth. So, and I took him in my official mock. I took him in numerous mocks. I really like him. I think his game speed is very different than his 40 times and all that kind of stuff. You watch him in the game, he pulls away, man. He has no problem with his speed.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to what he has. I'm hoping we see some sort of congealing with the offensive line, because that's my biggest fear right now. I've heard a few reports of Sam running for his life a little bit, and that's a little concerning. I do like what I see out of I guess are we calling Becton big ticket now with the $400,000 chain he got?
Yeah.
Damn. Oh man. He's spending all that rookie money.
That's right.
Dude, between Becton, I had an argument with someone. I don't know if he's in the chat right now. FM and I kind of went at it in my not description, one of my comment sections the other day, and he's just like, "Oh, Joe Douglas hasn't done enough to help Sam Darnold," and I was like, "Whoa, hold on, let's dial it back. We redid the entire offensive line. It's not like he didn't try to do that. Even since he got in here, we brought in Khalil. Yeah, it backfired, but I think it was a sound thought process at that point in the season."
Yeah, and that's Monday morning quarterback if you're gonna kill that move.
Yeah, no, and then you have all the receivers we brought in. You don't expect these guys to get hurt, but you bring in Doxson, who opted out. You have Perriman, who should be a replacement for Anderson. The health thing's the biggest issue there because Anderson was always healthy. Perriman's kind of had that injury bug. You bring in Mims, who a lot of people thought could have gone at the end of the first round. God, who else? We brought in a ton of different, maybe not top end weapons, but given what the Jets team is, like where free agents are going to want to go, it's not like the Jets are a desirable landing spot at this particular point in time.
Yeah, and that's one thing I hate about I don't know how to kind of put this in a box, but people will offer why don't people offer Robbie Anderson $12 million? What if the Jets did? Like, how do you know the Jets didn't? He just said, "Screw you, I don't want to play with Matt Rule." So I don't like the what ifs and that stuff with free agents, because, if you come to me behind closed doors, "Hey Joe, do you want to come to this team for $12 million?" No, I don't. Screw you. Like that's exactly what it could be. So I don't really know what happened with Robbie Anderson. I think people think it's just Madden. Okay, well, if the Panthers are offering 12, the Jets offer 12.2, and you get the guy, that's not how it works. But the one area I will criticize him for is receiver. I wanted a little bit more depth from the draft. So I think that he should have added a little bit more. I don't think you can criticize him for the offensive line a ton because, listen, even with the third round or the fourth round pick of Clark, that was like the highest we've invested in a draft pick in like a while. Well, actually, you have a Dogo from last year, but the Jets didn't really, obviously, with McCagnon and all those guys, they would have like a fifth round pick and like, oh, maybe this guy could play, but he obviously couldn't.
Right.
So that's not even counting Becton. So I like the way he addressed the offensive line. Now, I think it's going to be sloppy at first just because of the offseason. And for a team who's having 5 new guys play together on a starting line, none of them has ever played next to each other. It's going to be messy at first for sure. But I think he has the emphasis on the offensive line, which I think is a positive. I think it's going to take a step in the right direction. I think the top end weapons from this year to last year are better. I think it's a slight upgrade. I think having what last year was Robbie Anderson, Thomas, and Crowder. I rather have Mims and Perriman over Thomas and Anderson. That's personally me. Obviously hoping Mims takes steps in the right direction. You have Crowder, you have Herndon coming back, you have Griffin. I think the skill positions are decent at the top. They just don't have depth, which I will criticize. And I think the offensive line, it was so bad last year that it's not going to be perfect this year. But I think a step even up from 31 to 24 is a big step in the right direction for me. So he's doing a good job. He's just not going to throw it all at the wall for one season like McCagnon did. And then we win 10 games and the roster crashes a year after that. So.
Greenbean, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, I know. I'm finding myself agreeing with Joe a lot. I think I would. That's a really good way to offer perspective. Would you rather Robbie Anderson and Demaryius Thomas over Mims and Perriman? And I have to agree, no. Now, look, they're both injured right now, so using that hindsight. Well, look, they're both injured. I think we haven't seen them, so it's very easy to get on top of that and point out the negative side of it. But I think that once we see these guys, Mims is legit, man. Okay. Now we don't know what he's going to be in the NFL, but the skills are there. I love this guy. Perriman, the injury thing has been part of his issue, and it is concerning. But if he gets on the field, we're going to love what we see. And now, just like Joe said, I was convinced we were going to add at least one more wide receiver. I actually thought we would add 3 in the draft. So I was surprised and disappointed with that. But it's not like he didn't address it at all. Like you said, Ryan, he brought in 2 former first-round picks. Now, they're both busts. So there's that. But he did bring them in. He brought it, he obviously drafted the first 2 draft picks, offensive line and wide receiver. That's what we've been crying about for years. We haven't seen it. So he's doing things the right way. But guys, it's going to take time. But I think that we are better than we were last year. If the offensive line does gel, we're going to see Sam Darnold making stars out of a lot of men. And if not stars, he's going to be raising the play of the team around him, making all these guys, just like he did last year, man. He made all these no-name guys. He brought us to 6-2. So I don't think it's that much of an issue. It's concerning. I wish it was otherwise. Don't get me wrong. But I think we're not in that bad a shape once these guys get on the field. And they're taking it slow, just like they did with Marcus May last year, and we all know how that worked out.
I think a point to add on to that. Sorry, Ryan, I know you wanted to speak, but
go for it.
Resigning Griffin too. I think that's a little bit undervalued. Like people don't really look at that. Obviously, Darnold was pretty comfortable with Griffin, so I think having Griffin and Herndon on the field, Darnold's a guy who likes to work over the middle. So even if you are lacking at the receiver position, like we've been saying, running a little bit more 12 personnel and things like that might be a little bit more effective for the Jets. Now, Gase doesn't really do that a ton because like 60+ of his snaps are 11 personnel, typically trips too. It's not twins or anything like that. So he likes trip sets to the wide side. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they use these guys. But I think he's doing enough, but it's obviously not the finished product, so people will be upset.
Right. And I'm sorry, Ryan, I'm sorry. But and
it's okay.
It's our show now.
And forget it. I'm just here.
And this is where we're going to see if Gase does have the ability to be an actual head coach. Like, right, we know what he likes to do. We know he's brilliant. He's a guru, all those types of things. He's kind of a savant, if you will. But if he can't mold his offense to the team that he has, if he's trying to squeeze square pegs through round holes and he's running trips with guys like Chason and Moncrief, then we're gonna know what we have in this guy. And I don't think Joe Douglas is married to him like a lot of people think. I'm rooting for him. Don't get me wrong. I would love Gase to be fucking Belichick, man. I would love it. But we're going to see if he can't respond to this team, if all our receivers are hurt and we have a bunch of no names running around there, what are you going to do? You got to change your offense, not squeeze losers into the only offense that you can run. You know what I mean?
Completely agree. We got to get, we got to adapt. We saw Greg Williams adapt. He lost both his inside linebackers. And, we were able to make lemonade out of fucking oranges or so. Like, literally, we had nothing to work with last year in the linebackers, and he made everything work. I would say I agree with you guys. I expected a wide receiver in the draft in addition to Mims, particularly in that 4th round. I know Gandy Golden was a popular name. Donovan Peoples-Jones was another name people were looking at. I think tight ends are the way to go. I want to kind of segue this into our second topic, and Joe actually brought this up sort of with Robbie Anderson and accepting a $12 million deal. The Jaguars have traded Yannick Ngakoue to the Minnesota Vikings for a 2nd-round pick and a conditional 5th-round pick that could go as high as a 3rd-round pick if he makes first-team All-Pro and the Vikings win a Super Bowl. So realistically, it's probably going to be a 1st and a 4th, or a 1st and a 5th, or sorry, 2nd. Yeah. I don't see them winning the Super Bowl. Now, as Jet fans, how do we feel about this? Because we assumed Ngakoue would be playing on that $17.88 million franchise tag. He renegotiated his 1-year contract. He's playing on a 1-year, $12 million deal now to kind of facilitate some of the cap space with the Vikings. Now, Joe, do you think the Jets should have traded for Ngakoue, and do you believe he would have taken a pay cut if he came to New York?
No, he said he's wanted to win before, so I don't think he's going to take a pay cut to come to New York, even though I don't think the Vikings are going to win a lot of games anyway, because I think they're overrated. I think Kirk Cousins is overrated. They lost Lindell Joseph. They lost Griffin or whoever. I forget the edge rusher that
Diggs.
Diggs. Yeah, so I don't. Yeah. So I don't think they're gonna be that good either. But regardless, for the Jets, would it be nice to have an edge rusher? Sure. But for an edge, trading a 2nd-round pick, future draft capital, when we need to continue building for the future, to get a 1-year rental on a guy is not smart team building. It's just not. So ideally, yeah, for a year it'd be great. But then what if then he walks out and now you don't have that 2nd-round pick? Who could be another Marcus May? Could be whoever. Another Denzel Mims. Could be another whoever. So I don't think it's smart to trade future draft capital for a team who is most likely going to win 6-7 games, in my opinion, maybe 8 games. Obviously they could trade him and they could sign him to a long-term deal. Yeah, sure. But even with that, let's say that was the case. I like Ngakoue. I don't like Ngakoue as a $20 million a year player. You need to be involved in the run game to be that type of player to me. And he's not involved in the run game a ton. He's not super good at stacking and shedding. He's not super powerful. His technique is not the greatest in terms of dropping his weight, shooting his hands, things like that, getting under guys. So he's a rusher, but you got to be multifaceted to be paid with the top guys, and he's not that. So trading for him plus investing that capital, I don't think it's the smartest thing to do. And even he's like, even with his rushing, he's not Khalil Mack, he's not Von Miller. I hate stats, but look at the stats from last year. 5 sacks, 6 sacks, whatever it was. Is that $20 million player worth a 2nd-round pick? I don't think so. And obviously that's with the Jets not even being able to sign him. So I think it'd be really, 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 really dumb to trade for Ngakoue for a team who's trying to build for 2-3 years down the road.
Green Bean, how you feel about the whole Ngakoue trade and what he went for?
Yeah, I think I think the big problem I have with him is the money. Just like Joe said, at $20 million is, maybe I'm old, man, but $20 million to me is where that's quarterback money. Okay, I don't even like that Amari Cooper got 20. I think Dallas is going to be trying to get out of that next year. So it's $20 million. And he said that he did not want to go to a team where losing is the culture, I think is how he said it. How the hell are we going to spin the New York Jets right now that that's not who we are? So we've
been winning a ton.
Yeah. Look at us. We've won every offseason for the last 20 years.
That's right. Offseason champs. Greatest time of the year for us. But, so That's going to be hard. I don't doubt that report that came out that said the Jets were deep in the mix. I think it's probably all true. I think that NGAKOUE was absolutely not going to take a 1 penny discount to come here. He wasn't going to work with them like he did with the Vikings. And then on top of that, add all the draft capital, like Joe just said. That's a lot of money. We just shed that, in Jamal Adams, the whatever it is, 16 to 20 million, whatever, you might think it is. And, trying to get rid of that. We're not going to bring in another guy who's, let's not forget, he's a malcontent. He's doing the same thing to the Jaguars that Jamal Adams was doing with us. Not quite as bad as verbal, but, I don't think Joe Douglas is trying to bring that in and pay a premium and give draft picks away. I think he's kicking the tires. But, yeah, man, I would love him. I would love a guy like him, but I'd rather get our own for that price. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he was taken in the 3rd round. So if you're giving away 2nd-round draft picks and things like that, you can find guys of that caliber in the 2nd and 3rd round. Hey, he's a situational pass rusher. Yeah, you got to get lucky. It's not, what is it, a 15 or 20% hit rate at those.
Especially with the 2nd-round picks, like the premium positions go first. The corners, the quarterbacks, the edge rushers, the tackles. That's why you don't find a ton later, because there's such a heavy emphasis on them. But yeah, obviously if they can land one in the 2nd, that'd be fantastic. But
yeah, it's absolutely huge. And now, are we kind of in? Well, I guess I'll segue into this. The 3rd topic I have queued up, and that's the KAMARA and FOURNETTE situations possibly going on. I want to talk a little bit more about Fournette to start this whole thing, because the Jaguars seem like they are very much in favor of getting the number 1 overall pick this next year. Joe, do you believe that the Jaguars are going to own that number 1 overall pick?
Probably. I think so. I think people underrate Minshew a little bit. I think Minshew's actually he's decent. He had a good rookie year. Not working with a lot, so he might surprise some people, but their roster is just absolutely depleted. They have nobody left from a couple of years ago when they were making that, was the AFC Championship run or divisional game, whatever it was. I think it was the AFC Championship game. So I think they might own that number 1 overall pick, but to be really short, and I will go a little bit farther on this, but no and no. Fournette, those guys, those big running backs are. They need a heavy load to start to get going, and Fournette's been that guy historically, where he'll get a 3-yard carry until the 3rd quarter, and then he breaks a 75-yard run because defenses get tired of tackling him. So I don't think he's a good mix with the running backs. He also has some personality type issues that we've heard of and seen, which I don't think fits in with what Joe Douglas is trying to do. I guess I'd comment on KAMARA after that, but that's another no for me too. So.
Greenby, what do you think about the Jaguars, them releasing Fournette, and do you think they're going to have the 1st overall pick and get some Trevor Lawrence love going on?
Well, I think they're definitely a good bet. If you're a betting person, the odds on the Jaguars getting the pick is looking pretty good. I don't want Fournette in the slightest bit. I think bringing him into our stable right now is going to be a problem. There's no way around that being an issue with Gore and Bell here. I just don't like it in any way, shape, or form. I know it's sexy. People know his name, but he's not as good as people think he is. Number 1, and number 2, he's a headache. So I don't know. I just don't like the idea. I don't think Joe Douglas likes it either, which is at least nice to know. We're starting to see a type with Joe Douglas, and I think that Fournette does not fall within that type, which is good. And if we're going to talk about, are we talking about KAMARA yet?
Yeah, we could rattle that off. I think we're all pretty much in agreement on Fournette and not wanting him anyway, but yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, well, and it's very short. Like with KAMARA, I don't see the need for that. Now, if we were somehow trading Bell or something like that, maybe, yeah, fine. But because I wouldn't want to see Gore as the back, but I think Pirine is going to be good, but I wouldn't want to depend on him yet. But I don't know. I wouldn't want KAMARA with the running backs that we have right now. We have a problem getting Bell enough touches per his words anyway. So I don't know. I think that these are just names that people know. And with P. Ryan going down the other day, everybody kind of got freaked out. Everybody's injured, so bring in everybody else. And it's just, I don't know. I don't really like Fournette or KAMARA while Bell's here.
Yeah, I really like KAMARA a lot. I like absolutely love him, but I do not think the Jets. It doesn't make any sense to trade for him. One, I think you got Breeze going into likely the last year of his career. You're going to hold on to KAMARA and try to go for the Super Bowl anyway. I think as much as I like KAMARA, I think some of it is a product of them having just elite weapons across the board, and then also having Drew Brees there and running that Sean Payton offense. I think you can almost. I think they'll give him some type of Band-Aid type contract to give him a little bit more money this year just to sort of appease him. But it would not shock me to see them, if things go sideways, get closer to the deadline, they decide to move him or at least let him walk at the end of the year, recoup a comp pick. Because I think they could pretty much plug in any running back into that team and have some pretty decent success. Joe, how do you feel about KAMARA as a player? And then, I guess I know you were saying no to the Jets, but...
Your thoughts? That's not the way you want to invest long term for the future. Running back is the most invaluable position in on the field. To be completely honest, if you have a good running back behind a bad offensive line, as you saw last year, they're not very effective. If you have a bad running back behind a good offensive line, they could be pretty damn effective. Like a good example, like Darren McFadden with the Cowboys a couple of years ago, like a 1,000-yard season under them. Like, you need the offensive line. It's dependent completely on another position. So that's why it's the least valuable position on the field. So I wouldn't trade for him. And apparently they want a first-round pick, which they could, obviously they can want that. But even if it was a second-round pick, and then signing a running back long-term, who I believe he was hurt a little bit last year, and he's had some injury problems in the past as well. So a running back who's been injured a little bit, who's got a lot of carries on his body his first couple of years in the league. I just don't think it's a smart way to build for the future. Again, I'd rather invest those draft picks in the offensive line to make the running backs better, in corner, in outside linebacker, in weapons for Sam, outside the numbers. So no, KAMARA, definite not. You don't want to trade for. Now, if the Jets we thought they're going to go 11-5 and going to be competing for the division, yeah, sure, get KAMARA, but that's not the case.
Yeah, especially if they want a first-round pick, it's just not in the cards at all. I don't even think they'd get that anyway. We just saw, another running back get a big deal. We saw Joe Mixon, 4 years, $48 million with the Bengals. If you're looking to sign, KAMARA is probably looking to get $15 million a year. He's probably looking for McCaffrey money, and I just don't think he's that kind of running back. I think McCaffrey's a really special back, and even McCaffrey, I don't know if he, I don't know. It's tough to pay someone that much money when it's so dependent on the offensive line, like you said. And I would rather take that $15 million, turn around and sign Joe Thuney as opposed to, signing KAMARA, in my opinion.
Right.
Now, I want to get into, what was the other topic? I had one other topic here and I forgot it. So now I'm not going to be able to segue the way I want to segue. Okay, that's what it was. Guys, if you've not followed Green Bean or Joe, their links to their channels are down below in the description. Joe, remind us again, what do you got going on tomorrow? So all these guys can tune in for tomorrow's show.
The channel is generally filmed, so if anybody from the chat has seen my channel, I go frame by frame, leverages and techniques and insteps and molly blocks, like all the stuff that people don't really know about. So that's what that's what I do a lot of. So if you haven't clicked on it, that's what I do. If you really want to know the players, I think you guys can attest to that. And then I'm gonna do a call-in show like once a month with my buddy Kyle. Where it's going to be pretty much the same exact thing as this is. Comment on YouTube, call in. Tomorrow is going to be 6 to 8. Just go to Jets X Factor. The call-in number is going to be listed on the show, or I'll talk about it in the show. But we're going to do one call in a month just to talk to people a little bit more. But the show is definitely more film-centric, and like I said, a ton of stuff about these players that people don't really know about.
I love it. I will definitely be tuning in. I got to watch up on some of the stuff going on. All right, now let's get into another topic that I had in there. Logan Ryan signs a 1-year, $7.5 million deal with the Giants. Are either of you guys salty that the Jets couldn't have jumped in on this, given some of the possible cornerback depth issues that we may have? Green Bean, I'll kick it to you first.
Wait, this was Logan Ryan?
Logan Ryan, yeah, 1 year, 7.5 to the Giants.
Yeah, well, look, this is what I'll say. He didn't get that 10. All that hard. He held out hard, didn't he? He wanted that
Oh
10.
yeah.
He didn't get it. So everybody, everybody bends. But here's the thing. I honestly think that we would want to see what we have in these cornerbacks that we have. First of all, Bryce Hall, when he's if he's healthy, he's gonna surprise a lot of people. I've been watching that guy for the last couple of years, being from Charlottesville. Right. I lived in the city where UVA was, and Bryce Hall was king. Believe me, I watched a lot of that guy. Um, but guys, we have who's the other guy? Oh shit, I just spaced out. But I would rather we already have Blasan Austin. We want to see what's going on with him. We have Pierre Desir, who's the vet, who's kind of a placeholder. He's not going to be with us very long. But we have these guys like Quincy Wilson. We have, like I said, Bryce Hall. We even have guys like Lamar Jackson, who the cornerback that is, who's probably not going to contribute this year. But if our development is up to snuff, the guy has the size and the skills. If he can just turn around and locate the ball, he's going to be another one with potential. So rather than bringing in Logan Ryan, like we said, we're not going anywhere this year, man. So bringing in Logan Ryan for a 1 year, 7.5. We already have this year. We have Brian Poole in the slot. So I don't know. I'd rather take this season and see what these young guys have. Even Shaheem Carter, Javelin Guidry will be cut very soon. I don't think he's got the chops. But we have a stable of young cornerbacks that have actually shown up on the top 10 in quite a few stats recently. So anyway, I think I'd rather see what they have than bringing in Logan Ryan for a placeholder for a year, and then we still have question marks at the end of the year that could have been answered or at least addressed this year.
Joe, how you feeling about Logan Ryan?
Yeah, I'm only a tiny bit salty because I thought he was gonna be on the Jets, and it's more of like a fun piece. You could do a lot of different things on the defense, but I think my overall sentiment is mostly agrees with Green Bean. It's a cop out answer, but listen, the Jets are punt on the season basically is what it is this year. And especially I'm more biased to the offense. So if you're like, okay, well, bring in a guy to help Sam, an offensive lineman, a receiver, a tight end, whatever it may be, then yeah, we have to see what Sam has, because especially going into, this is gonna be year 3, and then we're thinking Gase is gonna be fired. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. But this is a really important year to see if he's gonna be the long-term piece. So offensive guys, yeah, sure, get them. But like you said, roll that 7.5 million over into next year, and the Jets have to figure out what they have at corner. I think they only really have a couple of guys who could be long-term options. I don't really think Desir is, but you really want to see what you have out of Austin. You want to see what you have out of Hall. You want to see if guys like Wilson or Guidry, whoever it could be depth pieces, and adding another piece to that obviously limits their snaps. So you want to see, like I said, if they could be that 4th, 5th, 6th string guy on a team who's good. I think Austin could be a long-term starting corner, depending on health. Obviously last year, I think his year is a little bit hyped up for what, I think it's hyped up more than what it actually was. He played against a couple bad quarterbacks. Obviously got benched in the Steelers game, let up a touchdown before half when he's the last play of the half, and he's had to play soft press, or not soft press, but soft coverage. So there are some problems with him. Hall has some injuries, but hopefully he comes back. So yeah, I think just evaluating the young guys at these positions and seeing what you have for the future is a smart thing to do. Obviously it's not the sexy thing to do, but I think in terms of team building, it's a smart thing, especially if it's not in relation to helping your young quarterback develop. So
yeah, when I saw Logan Ryan sign with the Giants, I was like, it makes so much sense, because they got Judge there. They got the need at safety right now, because it sounds like Logan Ryan is probably going to shift into that type of role. And for the Jets, you got Marcus May, who's apparently having a great camp. You have, you just got, losing my mind right now, the draft pick we just got in the third round.
Hall?
Ashton Davis.
Davis.
Sorry, Ashton Davis. Then you got McDougald. So like, you have safeties there. And then when I look at Logan Ryan, I don't want to say he's a slot corner, but it feels to me like I like what Poole has. Yeah, like I like what we got in Poole, and I'd rather roll with him. And I'm hoping we could sign him, maybe for another 1 year deal after the year, and we can just kind of, sort of push things down the road. So I'm not too upset with Logan Ryan going to the Giants. Little sad, like Joe said, from a an excitement standpoint. But I agree with Joe and Green Bean as well. I think we should have gone spend your money on offense if you're going to spend any money at all. I don't think it makes any sense to invest on the defense when we kind of know what we're going to get out of that. I think we're getting a top 15 unit. Mumtaz, thank you for the super chat. He says, why are we punting on the season? Is that official? So I'm going to say no. It's not official. I think we are very much setting ourselves up for the future. So I don't want to call it punting on the season. I think
don't want to call it punting, but it's punting.
But it's punting, yeah. It's very much let's see what our guys have. We're not going to put all our chips into don't push all your chips onto the table because look, we don't know what we have in Gase. We don't want to invest too heavily in players that may not fit potentially the next head coach that comes in, or the salary cap that's going to drop down to $175 million next year. If we take our $30 million or $40 million or whatever we got now, we roll it into next year, we're going to be a very attractive landing spot for either a head coach or free agents in general. So I think we are very much planning for the future, not necessarily punting, but I think we're okay not really – I don't want to say not making the playoffs, but I think if we see development from the offense, we see the offensive line gel, we see Sam Darnold really become the leader that we think he can become, I think that's a successful season. We could go 6-10, 7-9, and that would be a successful season if we see those attributes. Joe, what do you think about the punting on the season sort of thing?
I think they're evaluating the young guys, like we said. I don't think it's smart to bring in guys who are going to be here for a year or two, and the team is clearly 2-3 years away from really competing. So you want to, obviously invest in guys who are going to be long-term pieces. Now, if Logan Ryan was 25 years old and signed a 4-year contract, then yeah, maybe I'll be a little bit upset. But he's, 29 years old and will sign a 1-year deal and then won't sign with you again next year. So what's the point of wasting that money for a team who's, like I said, I think is going to win around 7 games? It makes no sense. So evaluate the young guys. The Jets are far away from winning. Let's be honest here. They have a lot of building to do, and it's not Joe Douglas's fault. It's McCagnon's fault. It's Isaac's fault. Look at the Jets' recent draft history and who has re-signed here, who's even starting for another team or playing for another team. It's sad how much how lacking the draft talent has been on the Jets. So yeah, Joe Douglas unfortunately does have to carry cap space, does have to build for the future. But I have a lot more faith in Douglas from what I've seen so far. Minus receiver. And honestly, I'll throw another jab at him. I think the kicker position has been, a little bit devalued by him too. I think they should have done more there overall. But other than that, I like a lot of what he's done. I like his emphasis on certain positions. I like the guys he's brought in. There's some guys I really like that he brought in that other people don't like. I'm higher on Fant than other people are. I'm higher on Perryman than some people are, while lower on others as well. But yeah, you don't want to go all in, waste your cap money for pieces who are going to be here to make the Jets go from 6-7 wins to 7-8 wins, and then they're gone, and now you can't use that money on long-term pieces. It doesn't make any sense. We're not that close.
Green Bean, how are you feeling about punting on the season?
I mean, look, it's not official. I mean, the official word on it is that we're not. So that's what Joe Douglas said. He said that. He put that right next to Jamal Adams will be a Jet for life. So who knows what any of these words mean anymore? Who needs words? What do they all mean? But I think, I think this is an evaluation year. You don't just because you don't have the horses to win the race doesn't mean that you're not preparing to be a better team. But like was said, Logan Ryan's a great example, and it's right in the same pocket that Fournette would fall into, and some other guys. These guys are not part of a long-term vision. They're just not. Fournette, I guess, could be. He's still young enough. But it's like these guys more than likely are not going to be part of your long-term vision. So why waste time on them when you have young guys in the house? If you bring in Fournette, P. Ryan's going to lose touches. If you bring in Logan Ryan, Bryce Hall, Blesson Austin, Lamar Jackson, Shaheem Carter, those types of guys, Quincy Wilson, Hairston, whoever else, they're all going to lose playing time. You're not going to know what you have in these guys. And then we're waiting to see what we have next year. And then the money piece. It's like, everybody's pissed about this thing. I'm seeing in the comments, it's been a theme since we started. Oh, every year the Jets have more money. Every year. I get it, man. Look, I've been a Jets fan since I'm fucking 8 years old, man. It's like 1981 or something like that. And we've won nothing since then. So I get it. I don't want to wait either. But the truth is, Joe Douglas is the first guy who actually is supposed to be a GM that we've had. since Bill Parcells' time. So I mean, even Tannenbaum was just his accountant, So all these guys that we've had in the position, clearly, just looking at how their players and choices are doing, they were not supposed to be in that position. So just like Joe said, being able to have the money to spend, if you bring in a guy and he gets you one more win, all I see is later draft pick when you're not doing anything. You let the young guys play, see what you have. If you don't need to burn a draft pick on a certain position. And I'm really excited to see these guys. This is why I love preseason so much. But, I want to see what the young guys have. Dude, we have some legit guys in the house that are young. I'm really high on Bryce Hall, obviously. I could talk about him all night. I'm really high on LaMichael Pirine, and I'm really high on Cameron Clark. I think these guys have the potential to be a part of the long-term vision. Let's let them get as much playing time as they can, and lose while we're doing it. I mean, it's going to be a tough road. I'm still thinking 12-4, but that's based on every other team imploding more than us. So.
Whatever you're smoking out there in the woods.
I was gonna say, yeah, he's got. I'm pretty sure it's legal out there, but yeah, no,
It is. There's shit everywhere around here.
I think it makes sense not to go for these big pieces like a Clowney, like a Logan Ryan, like a Fournette. It doesn't make sense for us. I think you build the pieces towards the future, like both you guys said. Let's get into some phone calls. We'll take some phone calls here. I'm going to put the number up on the screen. Remember, keep your calls short or your questions short, because I have to reiterate it to Joe and Green Bean, which hopefully we're going to have this figured out, because Joe has a very good solution to this. And I'm going to try it next week. So we'll give it a try where they can actually hear stuff.
And just to comment quickly on it too, I don't know if you're getting a ring right now. I know you can't hear it, but like Jets fans this season, obviously it's about the young guys. We should care about Becton, but not Lewis. We should care about McGovern, but not Greg Van Roten. We should care about Fant. We should care about P. Ryan more than Bell. It's about the young guys now. The old guys are going to be here in a year or two. We shouldn't really care about it. It's all about the young guys developing. That's what we should really want to see. So if I have to bank on, would I rather see Bless Austin or Desir have a better year? Obviously I want it to be Austin. The young guys is what matters right now. So who cares about I love McClendon, but he's not going to be here in a year or two. So we're developing for the future. I think it's a smart thing to do, investing in guys like I see in the chat. Not getting NGAKOUE.
Hold on 1 second, Charlie.
Oh, sorry.
I got a call.
I was like,
I tried to like answer it. I was like,
it's okay.
I was like, this is
why
I need this call waiting.
Exactly, but not getting NGAKOUE, like it's dumb. It's people are saying, "Oh, it's dumb." It's dumb to get NGAKOUE. Dumb. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, we're cutting Joe off. Okay, Charlie, what's up, dude? Sorry. Welcome to.
You better have something good to say.
Okay, Joe says you better have something good to say.
All right.
What's your question, bro?
I would just like the panel's choice of who they think should be the next head coach if Gase gets fired.
Ooh, okay. Good question, Charlie. So he's saying, what is our opinion, or who would we like to see as the next head coach of the Jets if Gase does get fired? Joe, I'll throw it to you first.
I don't know. I don't want to throw a bunch of names out there. I haven't watched any of their tape or their film or see what they offer, what kind of offense they run, or what their tendencies are. I'm not really too sure. I know Bieniemy is a name that everybody says, but I always have a problem with guys who are under, the defensive coaches under, or defensive coordinators under defensive coaches, the offensive coordinators under offensive coaches. I always worry about those guys. Look at Patricia, how hyped up he was going to the Lions. Look what they have done. So I think Bieniemy might be in the same boat with that, where he's not going to have as much success away from Andy Reid, away from Tyreek Hill, away from Patrick Mahomes, away from Mecole Hardman. So that sounds like an interesting name, but I'm not sure how much he runs the offense. So I'm not really too sure right now. I want to get through the season first and then evaluate what's going on. But I think, it's such a hard situation right now because, do we want Gase fired to get a new coach? Yes. But at the same time, do we want Donald going into his third system in 4 years on his last year of, or one of the last years of his contract where he's probably going to want an extension? I'm not too sure. So.
Green Bean, what about you? Who are you potentially looking at?
It's a funny thing with Bieniemy. I mean, he's interviewed for quite a few head coaching vacancies, right? And he's never gotten the job. Now, people can say there might be all sorts of other motivations involved and all that, and I can't speak to that. But if the guy was blowing the doors off the interview, I think he would have been hired by now. I mean, he's had more than a couple chances, so he freaks me out. And I actually share what Joe just said. I don't traditionally like offensive coordinators under offensive coaches. I didn't like Dan Quinn under Pete Carroll. It's like it goes like that for me. I see it the exact same way. That said, I don't really have that in depth of a list of potential head coaching candidates. I did like Joe Brady, the current. He's on the Panthers now. Matt Rule actually pulled him into the NFL. I did like him. There were some conversations I got into, and I looked into him a little bit, and he was an interesting character. But I haven't really done this yet, so I can't comment and put guys out there for you to really think about, and I feel bad about that. I feel terrible and guilty, and I feel like I should, I'm going to hate myself and all that. So, but I'll get on that. I'll start looking into that a little bit. But Bieniemy, I know he's the name a lot of people are talking about, but I hope that's not us.
I liked Monken last time, the last run around. I like his really aggressive offense with Tampa, but I don't know if he'd ever come back. And obviously he failed with Cleveland, failed because he was with Freddie Kitchens.
Right.
But I'm almost like the Jets have always, and you probably have more. You have a lot more experience than I do, based on the beard, Green Bean. It's. I kind of almost want to see the Jets do the whole Harbaugh type thing with the Ravens, where it's you have the team guy and then you have two coordinators who really work the team. And I think Brant Boyer might be a guy who is a dark horse candidate. Obviously, he's a special teams guy, but I think if you brought in a special teams guy who's a good leader, and Brant Boyer has been hyped up as a really, really good leader, and then you get two offensive coach, defensive coach, and then he's the oversight of the team. There's plenty of teams who do that and are successful. So I think that's a dark horse candidate. But I don't know if I really want to go heavy offensive guy who's only in the offensive meetings rooms, Gase or Bowles, the defensive guys, or Rex Ryan, the defensive guys. It just hasn't worked for us. And I think, and especially with that, I think the Jets like forcing GMs and coaches on the last couple of years has really not worked either. So I really like to see Gase or Douglas pick his guy. And I agree with everybody. And I agree with you, Green Bean. I think a lot of fans think, okay, well, Gase is married to Douglas. I don't think that's the case at all. Listen, they might be friends with each other because they knew each other in Chicago, but that was for a short stint. And listen, I may love my friend, whoever, Tom, but if Tom sucks at his job and my job depends on it for millions of dollars, sorry, Tom, you got to go. It is what it is. I'm like, I'm going to sort of bring you along. It's not like you're picking them for freaking recess kickball, and you can take the hit for that day. It's your job. So I think Gase might be gone. It's gonna be interesting to see, but it's a little bit too early to be looking into these candidates right now, I think.
Yeah, Joe touched on a really.
Sorry.
Yeah, you shut up. I haven't talked yet.
I know. Go on.
I think with the head coaches, I agree with you guys. Bieniemy is probably going to be the first name a lot of people look towards with that Chiefs offense. I really like what Joe said with the Ravens. I think Douglas likes it the same way. You bring in like a special teams head coach. That's why I like Judge with the Giants. I think that was a really cool move. It's a guy that has experience with the offensive players, with the defensive players, with the special teams. So he has a well-rounded take on a lot of different things. So I don't know what special teams coordinator you'd be looking for, but that would almost be the pipeline that I'd try to like maybe steer myself towards in some capacity, whether that be a college-ranked coach or an NFL coach. I'm open either way. I don't have a particular... I don't care if it's a college coach. I think we've seen college coaches come in and have some success. I think, it's pretty much a crapshoot anyway. I trust Douglas right now. Now, actually, a question I do want to get into, and it's a weird question because I believe it was brought up in Jet Nation. So let me see if I could actually find the thread real quick. And it's, are there too many similarities between Joe Douglas and John Idzik? They both traded away star defensive players, one with Darrelle Revis, the other Jamal Adams. They both have a ton of draft picks. They're kind of deferring cap. They're saying that, okay, well, now if memory serves correct, Idzik, the fan base felt like Idzik sabotaged Rex. He very much did not bring in the players he wanted. Douglas has a bunch of cap space right now, not bringing in players to help Adam Gase in a year where you think Rex needed to try and prove himself. Gase needs to try and prove himself. Are there similarities between the two styles? And we had a lot of blind faith in Idzik because his philosophy was sound. He just was terrible at drafting the players. Douglas seems to be following that same kind of mindset, but I think a lot more fans probably have more faith in him being groomed under Ozzie Newsome and whatnot. Greenbean, I'll throw it to you first. What are your thoughts on the similarities between those two?
I'll throw it to you first because I saw that you actually commented in that thread.
I did.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah. But it's fine. I have so much to say right now. I'm probably going to say nothing because it's all log jam. But so one thing is this. It's actually not a bad question. I mean, the truth of the matter is that Idzik's philosophy was sound. He unloaded a boatload of bloated contracts on aging guys who weren't contributing. Subsequently, he gained a lot of comp picks for that. So he had in the one draft, he had, I think it was 9 picks. And in the second one, he had that famous Idzik 12.
Yeah,
You know, so he just could not pick players. And the truth is I really do believe that Rex had more influence on those picks. That's why we got Calvin Pryor in the richest wide receiver draft in NFL history up till this year. Hold on one second. I need you guys to be quiet. Okay.
Sorry.
I had a whole bunch of kids running around with Nerf. They're having a Nerf gun battle right around me. So I'm like,
I want to see a Nerf dart come flying in and just whack you in the face. Preteen Bean, if you're listening to this, shoot your dad.
But it's an interesting thing when you look at our GM situation. Like Joe Douglas is the third GM that was not allowed to hire his own head coach. So this marriage, this thing that we're doing, with kind of forcing one on the other, making sure this coach is already here and all that sort of stuff. It doesn't make any sense to do it this way. And that's why we're left with these guys like a Rex Ryan, who I was a big fan of, by the way. I loved him. I thought he gave us an identity, all that kind of stuff. He was a lot of fun. Those 2 years were the most fun I've had in my whole Jets life. But he was only involved with the defense. He didn't know anything about what was going on the offense. And when he did, he would bring in Joe Girardi to teach Mark Sanchez how to slide into the base. I mean, that was Rex Ryan's offensive contribution. You know what I mean? So it's like, I really don't understand why we're doing this and why we're moving forward. But the truth is that the difference between Joe Douglas and John Idzik is Joe Douglas's pedigree. And I know we keep using that word. It's kind of the catch word that we're tagging onto him, but his background, let's call it that. First of all, he played college football for the Richmond Spiders, right? He came up through the ranks in the personnel department in probably the best organization outside of maybe the Steelers to do that, and is under Ozzie Newsome in Baltimore. Went to Chicago, went to Philadelphia, and then he's on us. He's a guy who was bred for this position. John Idzik was a glorified accountant, and he was the only guy who would take the damn job with Rex Ryan attached to it. Anybody worth their salt was not taking the job with Rex here already. So all that being said, there are a lot of similarities because Idzik's philosophy was good. His personnel acquisition, what he did there was atrocious. So it's an interesting question, but I wouldn't be afraid.
Joe, how are you feeling about the comparison between the two GMs?
I think if that's the comparison, you can compare any GM who's rebuilding with any GM who's rebuilding. So it's not necessarily, but like look at just at Douglas's drafts and his talent acquisition versus Idzik. I like Douglas more in terms of that as well because he's addressing positions that are important, you know, offensive line, things like that, where you saw Idzik, his first draft was what? It was a safety, or was that? No, that was a second
Pryor.
draft. You have Calvin
The
Pryor,
first draft
Jason
was
Morrow.
it was
Milliner.
the whole D. Milliner and Sheldon Richardson draft.
Sheldon.
Yeah,
Milliner.
injured players, but like look, like I have Idzik 12 up. Pryor, Amaro, McDougald, Sanders, Evans, Dozier, George, Dixon, they were all gone before like the start of the season. So is it good in terms of like, okay, his cap management, like you said, he's a smart guy with contracts. Yeah, sure. That was fine. And if he drafted correct positions and drafted good players, that 12, let's say 6 of them hit, then you have then you're building up your roster with 6 players, but because you're doing the right thing, but you can't hit on the players, and you didn't target their correct positions, because that's another year when in the 2013-2014, the Jets' offensive line was still shit. So they needed to address the offensive line. They didn't do that. So he didn't address the positions of need, of importance. And he was a bad evaluator. Like you said, he was forced on Ryan, and he was the only guy who would take the job, and it was clear. So I don't think him, in terms of not signing players, cutting guys, was the wrong approach. I just think that his acquisition of talent was really, really poor. So that's why it sucks so bad. When you have, 10 guys of your 12-person draft class cut by the next year, it's obviously you're not a good talent evaluator. And for what Douglas has done, I know people will. And it's famous. Jets players, you'll get a guy in the 6th round. Oh my God, I love this guy. He's going to be a superstar. So, but that's why I look into the film, and a lot of the guys who they drafted, I do personally really like them. The Hall pick, the Mims pick, the Becton pick. You gotta really like those picks. Some of the guys he brought in free agency, I really like. There's some I don't. Like I said, Peanut I think is overrated. I think this year's a little bit overrated. There's some guys I don't love, but overall, his eye for talent I think is pretty on point as compared to, like I said. Isaac, when they drafted Dexter McDougal, I'm sure all of us were like, who the hell is that? Saunders, right. Evans, we're like, what? Like, who are these guys? where Douglas is like, oh my God, he got Mims in the 2nd round. Oh my God, he got Hall. So P. Ryan, guy I like. There's some questionable picks in there. Maybe Zuniga, maybe Morgan. But overall, I think he did a pretty good job. So I don't think you can compare them just because they're both trying to rebuild. That's a smart thing to do when you have a shit roster. But the most important thing is finding talent, and he obviously couldn't do that with Isaac, where I think Douglas can. So.
All right, guys, if you have not followed these great content creators, their links to their channels are down below in the description. Also, in the description, I have a link to the Pick'em contest that I'll be running for the season. So if you guys want to get involved in the Pick'em contest, we're going to do a weekly thing. I'm going to announce the winners every week, either on this show or on the Monday show. I'm not exactly sure which one I'll do yet, but get into that. It's totally free. I'm going to be giving away some stuff throughout the season. And then, get to have a few bragging rights. So Joe and Green Bean, I expect you to both be in it. And, maybe we'll talk a little smack.
What do you win? Would you win a shirt?
I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Usually I do like a shirt or like a, mug or a hat or something like that. But maybe we'll do something at the end. It's an every week thing. So it's a weekly thing. It's on CBS Sports, and you just kind of you pick everything. Maybe we do one between like the 3 of us and Matt, and like if we get Sabo and Nania in on it, get like a whole bunch of guys that like the everyone else kind of watch. Just like, okay, let's see if anyone knows like anything about football, or if I'm just blowing smoke half the time. It's certainly possible. Yeah. All right, guys.
I'll do it. Well, let me say this though. My mug, my wife's Baltimore Ravens mug, just broke. And I live in an RV. I only have 3 mugs, dude. That's it.
Perfect. So you need a mug.
I could use I need a mug. Is my point.
The guy comes on every week. He needs a damn mug.
I'm gonna come up with something, and I'm gonna send you a mug. All right, Joe. Why don't you tell the words?
Gotcha. I know what you're going to say already, so if you want to just go.
Tell the people out there. Go for it.
Yeah, okay, so I obviously do the film show, follow the film show for the film show. Like I said, insteps, molly blocks, like who in this chat, there's 198 people, who knows what double dual protection is? Anyone know what double dual protection is? Takers? No. So if you want to learn about stuff like that and actually know football and know the players you're acquiring instead of saying, oh my God, this guy got 500 yards, he's a good player. That's not how it works. So I really dive into the film. That's what I like to do. But tomorrow, I'm gonna be doing a talk show a month, like basically like this. It's gonna be me and Kyle. We're gonna be taking calls. We're going to be answering to YouTube comments and things like that. Obviously, I don't expect to have as many guys as you do, but if we have 10, 20 people in there who are commenting, I would love that. Get some callers. Like I said, I want to interact. I used to do Jet Nation Radio, where we used to actually talk to people and take callers. Since I transitioned to film, I haven't been doing it as much, so I would love to reconnect with some of the callers and some of the people.
Awesome. Good stuff. Let's jump over to the phone lines. Let's see. Remember, keep your questions short because these guys are not going to be able to hear your questions, so I have to reiterate 2 of them. And hopefully, until next week. The last week I'll have to do this because it seems like Joe has figured out a very good solution to this, and I'm excited to try it next week. So I'll, get your questions in. I see we had a bunch of people that tried to call in the last 5 minutes or so. Make sure you call back in. I just opened up the window again, so if you had tried 7713 8741. Oh, 7713. Literally just calling in as I say their number. Let's see, who is it?
Liam.
Hey, what's good, dude? Welcome to Talkin' Jets.
Hey, Ron, how you doing tonight, bud?
Oh, I'm having a grand old night. What's on your mind, brother?
All right, so this question I actually asked to Matt O'Leary a couple weeks ago on his podcast, and he gave a good answer to it. So I want to see your opinion. So the question is, considering that the Bills and the Niners both have elite defensive lines, how long do you think the Jets offensive line is going to take to gel? Since obviously no preseason games, limited training camp, and obviously the Bills and Niners defensive lines. All right, thanks.
Good question. Good question. All right, so he's basically asking how long we think it'll take the Jets' offensive line to gel, because the first few weeks of the season are going to be pretty brutal with defensive lines. The Bills have a very good defensive line. 49ers have a very good defensive line. The Colts have a very good defensive line. So God, then what would we be at Denver? So you got, what is it, Chubb and Von Miller?
Chubb and Miller. Then you got Chandler Jones.
Yeah, dude, we got a very rough start to the season for a very, I don't want to say inexperienced, but inexperienced with each other offensive line, even though, McGovern last year played at, a top 10 center level. Becton looks to be a very, very high potential left tackle, but that doesn't mean he's going to, have that happen this year. We have Alex Lewis returning, but we don't know how Van Roten's going to gel with them and how everything goes. Joe, are you concerned with the start of the season and this offensive line for the New York Jets?
Yeah, I am. I think it'd be foolish not to be. I think the Jets, on a singular talent level from last year to this year, whether it be left tackle versus left tackle last year or center versus center, I think they've improved. But the offensive line is so much about cohesion. How long does this guy like to stand a combo block? How open or how soon does he open his hips on this pass setter? When he slides, does he really keep that drag hand next to me or overlap technique? Or like how does he play things? What is he not like? Does he get bull rush? Does he fall for inside moves up to help him more versus quicker players? Like, there's so many things you have to know about the guys to your left and to your right, taking over blocks, pass blocks, things like that. So for a team who's never really worked together, minus defense, against the defense in training camp, it has to be concerned. Even guys who have the full preseason, have the full training camp, if it's a bunch of new guys, you typically see problems the first couple of weeks. So for the Jets, listen, it's not going to be the most optimistic thing, but I would say like by mid-season, you'd think they'd start to gel, because it's not even just 2 new guys; it's literally 5 new guys starting from last year's first team in week 1 to this year's team, and none of them have played with each other. So it's largely concerning, like you said, because you have the Bills, you have the Niners, you have the Cardinals, you have the Colts, you have the Broncos. It's gonna be rough. I think, even though, like I said, on a singular level, I think they've upgraded, but it's going to take some time for them to gel for sure. There's going to be a lot of miscommunications.
Greenbean, how you feeling about the offensive line and the start to this schedule against the defensive lines we're going to have to face?
Well, right. I mean, like Joe said, you'd have to be silly not to wonder how they're going to progress together. But I'll give you the good news, the silver lining, if you will. Out of all the injuries going on outside, I'm going to knock on wood while I'm saying this. Okay, I got some wood right here. I'm knocking. But outside of the short injury that Van Roten had, this is the one unit that seems to be doing okay in the injury department.
He said it.
I know you knocked on wood, but I don't want to hear that out of your mouth.
Oh yeah, man. I got a good knock in history. I'm good with this.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm old. So this is what that allows is for them to maximize their time together. They're going to have essentially this whole month playing with each other. So that does give us the best possible chance, instead of there being battles for positions on the O-line, like if Winters was there and all kinds of stuff. We know who the starting 5 are, and they're up front, and they're playing together, and they're also playing Call of Duty. And from what I heard, that really, really helps. Joe, I think you made a video on how well Call of Duty benefits offensive line cohesion, didn't you?
Yeah, if you could play Call of Duty, you could pick up a stunt. Yeah, that really matters. No, listen, like you could have. Listen, and I said this before. I played high school football. I played both sides of the ball. My best friends were on my team, but we still sucked. So
yeah,
you could be best friends with the guy next to you. Doesn't mean you're gonna have good on the field cohesion with them. So yeah, it's a positive, but it's a little bit overhyped. They're playing Call of Duty together. It really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I know that was so
I don't know. I've
that.
dropped into Warzone a few times. I'm pretty confident I could snap a ball and
you could block
some of these
Oliver?
crazy. Oh, absolutely.
Because you could finish
100%.
third on Warzone.
I got like 25 wins or something like that. I'm pretty good.
Oh, okay. I only play sports games. I don't really like Call of Duty. I'm more like Madden and NHL stuff.
NHL's a lot of fun. I actually really like FIFA. I could sit and play FIFA for days.
So FIFA's a game that I usually play if I'm like pre-gaming to go out somewhere with a bunch of buddies and we do like FIFA tournaments. That's usually how it is.
Yeah. I was always a big N64 Super Smash Brothers fan.
Well, let's not. We're gonna get into a really deep rabbit hole of GoldenEye and all this stuff that we're gonna be talking about. So let's not even.
We'll have to go. Let's go back to the phones. We'll go back to some calls. Remember, guys, keep your questions short because I got to reiterate the questions to these guys. And also, don't forget to hit that like button. We got like 200 people in this chat, and we got 57 likes, and that is a load of crap. I know you guys like this stuff. But make sure you hit the like button because other people are going to watch the beginning of this video, and if they see 57 likes, we're probably not getting too many views after that. So if you drop some likes, show some love, it definitely helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe to Joe and Green Bean. Their links are in the description down below. And don't forget to sign up for the Pick'em League. The Pick'em League is totally free. Link is in the description down below. Have a lot of fun with that. I'm really excited. I'm doing a Pick'em thing, not just with like me and like everyone else, but like Becca and our dog Bolly. I'm going to have them pick the games each week too, and we're going to see who has the best score at the end of the season and see if I know what the hell I'm talking about or if the dog can randomly pick the bowl with the treat in it that has the winning team every week. We'll see. Oh, what's going on in the chat over there? Bills fan, he's still hovering around in there. Man, I love that he's got notifications turned on for this because it makes me happy. And I love sports needs more hate in it. You need to have some hate and some rivalries, and he is bringing it to the chat right now.
I commented on it last time. Listen, if you're a Bills, Dolphins, or Patriots fans watching a Jets channel, that just tells me about how important and busy your life is. That's all I'm going to say.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
I don't go to Dolphins channels.
Guy.
Yeah.
No, if I do, I'm not doing what he's doing. No. He just talked about a fictional blade in Game of Thrones being dumb. Like Jets fans, that's the kind of stuff that's the heat he's bringing.
Yeah, it's like I said, you need to find some hobbies.
Right. Find some hobbies.
I'm just gonna go into some like Patriot live streams and just like get ripped on by a bunch of Patriot fans and say like, oh, Tom Brady's not there, he kisses his son and all that stuff. It doesn't really work that way. It's still good to have you in here. I like it's probably a product of having hashtag in here a few times, and then we wind up getting the Bills dudes in here.
Listen, Ron. I know we have 192 people in here, so I'm sorry if we go down to 191 because of me, but I couldn't care any less if there's Bills or Dolphins or Patriots fans in here. Especially the ones who are trolling. If you're here to have a conversation, awesome. But the ones who troll to get attention because they don't have any friends and they want people to respond to them, then that's what it is.
That is what it is. Whatever. Guys, remember, keep the questions short because we are not going to be able to hear anything. But the phone's not ringing anyway, so it's all right. We're not hearing anything regardless.
Hey,
what else?
What do you think about Avery Williamson and his contract? What do you think that's all about, man? Why'd they do that to him?
So he restructured it. He lowered his contract overall, but he got $1 million guaranteed. So basically just guarantees his roster spot, which he was going to have anyway.
But they were saying that he's not even starting. I read that yesterday. He's not considered the starting linebacker. It's Hewitt and Cashman.
Really?
So they didn't. Joe Douglas didn't want to pay $6 million for a backup.
Huh? Joe, what do you think about that? Because I would have thought for sure he'd be starting.
Yeah, apparently they're just working him on the second team just because he's coming in from that injury, so they're trying to work him in slowly. That's at least what I've heard. And listen, and it is slightly concerning though, because if he thinks he is what he was, in 2018, then why would he take that pay cut? So it is a little bit concerning that he's either going to come into the year slightly injured and have to work back slowly, or he's just never going to be what he was because of, and everybody compares everything to Adrian Peterson a couple of years ago when he tore his ACL, but every injury is not the same. So
Right.
he could be coming back slower. So I think that's why he's working with the second team. So maybe he starts off the year working in limited reps, and then once he gets healthy, if he can prove to be healthy, then he starts taking more snaps. That's maybe why he took the pay cut, because he knows that he's working back from a little bit slower, and that no team's gonna sign him if he can't pass a physical or whatever it may be. I'm not sure how much he's been working with the first team and has been running around. So I think it's just kind of a sign that the injury is not completely healed and he's going to be working back a little bit slower. But Williamson's a guy who I really, really like overall as a player, whether it be with the Titans 2017, 2018, I have the film reviews up of him. I think he's a monster in the run game. I think he's underrated in coverage. I think he's average there, which is okay. He's not Moses or anything like that. He was another guy who people said was bad in coverage, but as you can see, the first game against the Bills, he did really, really well in coverage, and he actually hurt himself in that Tampa 2 rep where he broke up a completion to a receiver down the post. So, I like Williamson, so it is slightly concerning, but I think if he's healthy, he's going to be the starter because I think Hewitt and Cashman are guys who, sorry Jets fans, I think they're largely overrated in what they did last year. I think just because those guys are in the box and they make tackles, people think they're good because that's what they see on their broadcast angle. But when you see them in coverage, when you see what they opened up, when you see them not shooting the correct gap, not filling, not doing, not squeezing, not doing the things they're supposed to do in the run game, you'd notice it a little bit more if you could see that stuff. But people just see tackles and broadcasts, so they think they're better. So it's slightly concerning. It really is.
Green Bean,
Right.
how do you feel?
Why? Right. It's interesting when you look at all that, and I think it would be wise to bring him in slow. I mean, the good news is that he was injured last preseason, so it was an early injury as far as his rehab time, right? But I would wonder, why are we doing it? Like, okay, it's 3.75 million, that's great, but why? Like, was he threatened? Were we threatening to cut him? Like, what benefit does it give us to do that now? I just don't see it. I mean, and I could be missing it, but I trying to think, why would we be motivated to do this right now? It's interesting to wonder why he would accept it. And does it leave a bad taste in his mouth for next year? I don't know. It's just, it seems like an odd thing to do right now. Any ideas on the benefit for the Jets? I mean, money's money, of course, but we have 31 million bucks hanging around. So what is it?
Yeah, my thought process, the only thing I can think of is that it's just adding more money to roll over into next year. Now, he dropped his cap by, I think it was almost $2 million. I think he's 4.7 million instead of 6.5 now. It doesn't feel like it makes sense unless he's just like trying to be a team player. I would love to bring him back next year. I mean, assuming he plays all right.
Right.
Well, I guess maybe we won't do that if we have Mosley back. God. Joe, I want to get your thoughts on Mosley and his contract. It seems like we're kind of locked into that till 2023 now with the opt-out. Next year's contract, because we paid him $10 million this year, he's actually only 7.5, I believe, against the cap next season, which I don't know if it makes him possibly tradable if you wanted to not have that albatross of a deal.
I don't think so. Unless you were trading and you ate up some of the cap, like, okay, you take 7 million of it, we'll take 10 million of it, but then what's really the point? Because he is, when he's healthy, I think a top 5 to 10 linebacker. I think top 5 is pretty safe. I really do like what he offered. I think he's one of the top guys in the league. So my concern with him is, one, the injury, and then something I brought up with Marcus Coleman, who usually does the shows with me, played 11 years in the NFL, and we both looked at the comment that he left when he said he was opting out, where he said, kind of want to find that flame again. That's a little concerning. Like, I don't look into a lot of things, but why do you need to find a flame again? So it sucks that we haven't seen, we've seen him one game or 1.5 games or 5 quarters, whatever it was, throughout his 2 years of the Jets, which was like the biggest linebacker contract, for middle linebackers in history so far. So it's like, you could look at it as it's bad that we haven't seen him. But it's also like, okay, well, you're reserving the contract for a really good guy when the Jets are actually competing. So hopefully he comes back, he finds that flame, and guys who are 28, 29, 30 years old at middle linebacker can be really productive still and be really, really good players. Just look at guys like Bobby Wagner, who I think is reaching that age right now, who's probably considered the best linebacker in the league in terms of middle linebacker. So I'm okay with the contract being on the books, but that's if we get the Mosley who's coming back. or who was the Mosley 2018, that first game against the Bills, who, like I said, all these Bills fans talking crap. They were down 16 points in the fourth quarter. It is what it is. And the Jets got injuries. But hey, it is I like Mosley. It is concerning. That flame comment really, really concerns me, just because you're a football player making millions of dollars. You should kind of have the flame already. But I can't criticize this decision. There's a lot of Jets fans that, oh my God, what the hell is he doing? This guy's excuse my French, but he's a bitch and all this stuff. Listen, if he's a family, if he has young kids, if he has people who have COPD, grandparents who are around him all the time, he's being responsible with his family, which is much more important than football. So.
Yeah, Green Bean, what are you thinking about Mosley, especially with, what we could potentially have next year? And I don't know. What do you think about his contract, the whole flame comment?
Yeah, I mean, come on. What could that comment mean? I mean, it probably just sucks playing for a losing organization, or, watching Jamal go and fight his way out of town. They probably, there probably is at least a contingent that doesn't respect Gase. I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, he kind of rubs a lot of players the wrong way and all that. I don't think it's a complete mutiny or anything, but I don't put it past, these guys to not like him, especially with such a divide between offense and defense. Like Greg Williams is obviously respected and all that, but if he's not playing and his team's losing, it's probably not as much fun as playing for the Ravens when they were fighting for playoffs and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? So I could see that, but it is concerning. I think the contract was asinine. It was asinine the moment it happened. Nobody knew. I mean, it was like, what? 17 million. I think his next highest offer was 12.5. So
I think,
I was
gonna say, I think it was 14, maybe. I think it was $3 million over whatever he was offered.
Yeah, we don't play games. We'll just throw an extra $3 million, and then we take it away from Avery Williamson. So I don't know. I mean, look, the guy is one of the best. Like Joe just said, we saw his impact in that game. It was incredible. And the minute he left, it was like a vacuum got sucked out of the defense. So we know how good he is, but I don't know. I mean, not playing football for 2 years too. How well is he going to come back? How rusty? How out of shape? All those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. We may never see this guy, the guy that we signed, and he's stuck. His contract is a lot of guaranteed money there, man.
They have such bad luck with big contracts. Jermaine Johnson, now him possibly, Wilkerson, like damn, Revis, like oh my God.
That's right. That's why we shouldn't get mad at Joe Douglas for not doing it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. For not trading a second-round pick to bring in a guy who's going to be here for a year, then leave. That's
right. Right. Think about that. We can't even re-sign him, so it's got to be a handshake that you're gonna re-sign with us. You think he's gonna come here and go 7-9, 6-10, and stay?
Just like the guy who's never going to leave the Jets organization or hurt the Jets organization stayed here, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Right. No, I want to retire a Jet. I don't know. What do you buy that he's gonna? Do you buy that he? Yeah, do you buy him wanting to retire a Seahawk?
No, he's not going to retire a Seahawks. He's retire Dallas Cowboys and go there in 2 years once you see the Seahawks can't win because their quarterback's great, but their offensive line is complete crap. So I think the Seahawks are a wild card divisional team for the next couple of years because you have to pay Wilson, now you have to pay Jamal Adams, and that's investing a lot into those two positions, and they're never going to be able to build the offensive line correctly, and I don't think they're ever going to win another Super Bowl. It's really hard after that rookie contract to win. There's not a lot of teams who win after that rookie contract. The Patriots are the only people who have really done it consistently, whether it be the Saints or even the Steelers. The Steelers win after they signed Big Ben. I forget the Ravens,
I think they did because it would
Matt Ryan. It doesn't happen over the last 20 years. I think second year quarterbacks who have won Super Bowls minus Brady's maybe like 1 or 2 times, maybe. I don't know.
And Brady he was taking so much less. I mean, you got to think he was never paid a top 10 salary, I don't think, or at least not very frequently. Like it was, the whole under the table. You got your TB12 clinic over there.
Kraft paid for his massages.
Oh yeah, that's exactly
that too.
it.
Yeah, it's funny, right? It's just they happen to be the TB12's number one client. Like, are we all so naive as to, the greatest quarterback ever decides to take $50 a week, and it's like, what is this?
So, it's like when politicians make like $400 or $500. I'm not getting into politics, but like $400,000 or $500,000 a year, and then you see them with like their net value is like $30 billion or $30 million. But that doesn't make sense. How did
Yeah,
that happen?
how
You know,
did-
interesting. I'm trying to that meme of like all the numbers going on the guy's head.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
that
But right,
does not make sense. Does
doesn't-
not compute.
doesn't make sense. But right, but it's an interesting thing. Jamal Adams has he's a very diagnosable personality disorder. And like he just speaks, like he's very emotionally driven. He speaks whatever his emotion is at that moment, that's what you hear. And if in a half hour those emotions die down and he feels a different way, that's what he speaks. And that's the problem with this guy. He's inconsistent.
Bipolar.
And I wouldn't put, well, yeah, you know, some of that kind of stuff going on. So he you know, as far as his words, they're worth nothing because they don't mean anything. You know,
Yeah.
he just says what's whatever. He doesn't have that filter or that, you know, that ability to say, maybe I shouldn't say this. He just says it and he justifies it by saying, hey man, I just speak the truth. I come true. Like, no, you don't. You come fucking deranged is what you
Yeah,
do. You
he's a liar.
He's a liar and you're emotional baby is what you are.
Mhm.
And quite frankly, I'm glad that we got the capital that we did for him. It's a weird year to get it and all that, but again, I think Joe Douglas is and his staff are about as good of a staff as you could want in a year like this. So I think you know, as far as everybody's, you know, all the teams, the playing field, I think we're a little bit in a better situation than a lot of other clubs for this weird ass year that we're about to have.
So here's an interesting thing we hadn't really gotten into. Have you guys followed the kicking situation at all in terms of us releasing Mayer? So
Yeah.
we released Mayer. Right now, Ficken is our only kicker. He made, in his 15 games with the Jets last year, he converted 19 of his 27 field goal tries, along with 23 of his 26 extra points. So how do you guys feel with Ficken as our, you know, what feels like probably our kicker going into the season? Green Bean, I'll throw it to you first.
Wait, what did you say his number was with field goals? 19?
19 of 27 on field goals. Let me see if I can pull up like
70.4%.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it. I think he's great. And I think we should have used our 6th round pick on a kicker. That's what I think. I think there was a couple of them that I liked. Not many. It was a kind of a down year for kickers and everything. But I think, you know, just like Joe said earlier, I mean, the wide receivers, the more glaring kind of mistake, if we can call it that. I feel like the kicker situation, something's up there. Last year, he was really odd the way he handled it. You know, with only having one in the house and giving him a full chance to fail and then bringing someone else in. Like, where's the kicking competition? And Mayer wasn't even a guy that I thought that much of to have a competition with. So I don't know. Ficken makes me nervous. I mean, he's better than Vedvik. Can we say that?
Listen, like you said, like it's not as big as wide receiver, but if they don't have Vedvik last year and they have a guy who can make field goals, do they beat the Bills week 1? Yes, they do.
That's
He missed an extra point and a field goal, correct? So, I don't know why it's been so largely ignored like it has been, but you have Mayer who's like 69.something% in his career. You have Ficken who's like 70.4 in his career. But then there's guys out there like Gostkowski who's like high 80s. You have Hauschka who had a down year last year, but his down year is still a lot better than what Sam Ficken has done. So I don't know why they haven't brought in more guys. And there's another guy who's signed somewhere else who they just haven't been brought in, or they didn't try to bring in. But a lot of these other teams have competitions where 3 guys are going at it, where the Jets bring in 2 really shitty kickers and say, okay, go at it. And then one's shit, but one's a little bit less not shit. So now that's our kicker. I don't get bringing a guy who's 7 for 10 on field goals basically every 10. So where there's guys out there who are 85+% who are on down years at 80+%.
I know what's happening. Hold on, I'm gonna put my tinfoil hat on real quick, and we're not signing players because we're punting on the season, and we're not signing good field goal kickers because a bad field goal kicker will cost you a game or two. We're gonna get a higher draft pick. We're moving up. We're getting Trevor Lawrence. We're getting rid of Sam Darnold. It's this whole conspiracy theory going on. No, I'm kidding. We're holding on to Sam Darnold.
Yeah, that's the video I just made today. There actually are whispers that this is Douglas does not want Gase as the coach, and quite frankly, wants to pick his own quarterback. He wants his own quarterback. He wants his own coach, and he's building the foundational pieces that he knows he needs. But he knows he can bring in some skill position players when he wants to, and that he's doing just enough to lay the foundation, but he's not doing enough to actually be a success because Gase and Darnold are gone.
Oh,
I don't know
God.
if I buy it or not.
I would be crushed. I would be crushed if we lost Darnold. Like I know he hasn't shown us the like I'm the franchise quarterback like real moment yet. Like we've had some really good games from him, and we've had some kind of like flubbed up weird situations, but I kind of put more of the blame on the offensive line and on, you know, the lack of weapons and like the play calling more than I put it on Sam. And maybe that's not fair. Maybe I should be throwing more blame on Sam, but like I believe in the guy. I think he's gonna be a good quarterback. I would be so frustrated if we got rid of him. I would be a Sam Darnold fan wherever he went if we were to get rid of him, I think.
Nah. I feel the same way you do, and I like Sam as well. He's super duper young, has just so many years ahead of him, and I want him to be the guy. If he leaves, fuck him. That's how I feel about all players who leave the Jets. Okay, I don't have time to like other players and shit. Man.
Yeah, I would want him to do well, kind of. But at the same time, it would hurt me even more to see him do well to another team. But yeah, I think anybody who's putting more of the blame on Darnold than what's been around him is a fool. I think for what's been surrounding him for as young as he is, again, you know, everybody will bring it up. He's younger than Joe Burrow, who's a rookie right now. You know, he doesn't have a lot of experience. So being an inexperienced quarterback, a young quarterback behind the 31st best offensive line with your best weapon on offense, well, one of them being hurt in Herndon, Bell being ineffective behind an offensive line that can't block for shit. And then your best receiver is a deep threat who you can't take a 5 to 7 step drop to throw the deep ball because your offensive line can't hold up for more than 2 seconds. So he was not in a good position last year or the year before that. So I think he could develop into being a good quarterback. But the problem is now it's going into year 4 next year. And now do you have a new coach? Now you have to sign him. So you better hope a lot of things go right with your roster. You hit on a lot of guys like the Seahawks did with the Chancellors and the Thomases, and the Wagners and the Wrights, you know, all in the mid-round type picks, and then you can win a Super Bowl because, like I said, winning on that second-year contract for a quarterback, or the second contract for a quarterback is really hard. So I think Sam could be the guy, but third system in 4 years and a contract year for Sam, it's gonna be rough. So
right, yeah, and part of the conspiracy, like, you know. Look, I don't know how valid it is. It kind of flies across me and everything, but it's like, you know, that's the thing. It's like, what would be better, starting over with a new young guy, which Joe Douglas has the capital to do anything he wants next year in the draft, especially if we suck. So, you know, starting with a new quarterback and a new coach, or giving Sam Darnold his 4th offense in 5 years. You know what I mean? So. I don't know. Look, I'm a big Sam Darnold believer too, man. I am, and I don't put that much stock into it. But when you start looking at all the pieces, there is enough to validate at least having that thought that Joe Douglas just wants to look. He's got 5 more years on his contract, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's got 5 more years. He could start fresh and do whatever he wants. I think that would be. I mean, it's adding a little maniacal touch to him, which I don't know if it is really fair and accurate, but. It's possible.
I think the problem with that is that I have, and so I know Ryan was going like this, so he's going to say something. But really quickly, I think if he was planning to fire, I think if he is the GM we think he is, if he was planning to fire the coach, then do it this year. You know, so I don't know if that's the plan. I think he might think that's going to happen, but we'll see. It's just if that were his plan, get rid of the guy now, let Darnold build onto the new guy.
You're saying after this season, you mean?
No, I'm saying if he planned to fire him or if he thinks he's going to be fired, then he should have fired him this season. Obviously, you want to make the move. Yeah. You want to pull the Band-Aid off. You know, you don't want to let Darnold develop another year under this guy, get comfortable under Gase. We're hearing all the things. Oh, well, now he walks to the huddle. He sees the audibles. He doesn't have to think as much. Now you're pushing that a year back with the new coach who's going to come in inevitably if that's how Joe Douglas is thinking. So I don't buy into that conspiracy, but I get the reason for it.
Right. Well, that's why he would need a new quarterback.
Yeah, man. I mean,
I
understand. I understand the thought process with it because it's not wrong. If this was Mark Sanchez or if this was Geno Smith or like a player that I didn't really feel like had the tools, I could swallow it a little easier. Like I could understand the thought process with you saying, okay, look at the statistics on how many quarterbacks win on a cheap rookie deal. You got Joe Flacco, Eli Manning, Big Ben, Russell Wilson, like literally just a litter of guys that have won on cheaper deals. Yeah. And with Sam going into his fourth year, then his fifth year option, the fifth year option is not that cheap. It's the average of, I think it's the top 10 at his position, I believe, which is going to be like close to $30 million probably by the time we get to there. So
I think it's the average of the top 5.
I
could be wrong, but can you imagine Darnold behind the Jets offensive line 2009, 2010, or even with the Jets in 2015 with Decker and Marshall? Like, can you imagine what Darnold would do?
Yeah, no, that's spot on. I really think Sam is going to be legit, and maybe after this season, we see like a good Sam, and maybe Joe Douglas works his magic, and he says, "Hey, Sam, this is you just finished your third year. Let's do a 3-year extension now. Let's make you higher paid for year 2. Maybe I don't know, maybe or not year 2, but you got year 4, 5, and what would be 6, and you make it not a crazy deal, but it's something that would get him more money than what he would otherwise get without having to blow the top off of a deal. Or does Sam just sit and say, hey, we'll do the franchise tag thing and we'll just run our way through that? I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't like the franchise tag route, but if I was a quarterback, I would do it.
What Dak's doing is betting on himself, and it's smart because once you go to free agency, if especially at positions of the big positions, outside linebacker, corner, offensive line, quarterback, if you're top 10 at your position, even top 15, you're going to get the next biggest contract because people are so desperate for those premium positions. So Dak will get $40-50 million, whatever, if he goes into free agency. Is he worth that? No, but will he get it? Teams like the Bears be willing to pay that? Probably. That's why the Jets were willing to pay Kirk Cousins, who I think is a mediocre quarterback, however much money that was, whatever they were offering him. So it's going to be interesting to see how they build around him. Honestly, it sucks to say. I think they blew their shot a little bit with Darnold in terms of actually competing for a Super Bowl. I think they could be a team who makes the playoffs, makes the wild card, makes the divisional, but actually getting there with Darnold on a second contract, it's going to be tough. But and like we're talking about with the whole Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence. Listen, if the Jets are in position to pick those guys, then Darnold must have really sucked. And I don't think he really sucks, so I don't think they'll be there. But if he did suck that bad, then I get it. But I just don't buy into Sam Darnold being that bad with the upgraded offensive line around him. Even if it goes from 31 to 25, that's a massive difference. So,
yeah, it's the whole money. I love the cap, I love the salary cap for the NFL. Like, it's one of probably the most fun things about the NFL, at least for me. Like, I like watching everything going on, but I think the little bit of games that teams play and figure out how to work guys into contracts and renegotiate stuff, there's just a fun math equation for me. And I struggle with the whole Sam Darnold thing because maybe we're going the route of, hey, we got the cheap left tackle now. Now next year we go and we get the cheap corner and the cheap edge rusher. So now when you pay Sam all that money, you're not necessarily loading up a ton of money in the other premium positions just yet. Like maybe that extends our window longer than maybe some of the other teams like Seattle or God, I don't even know who Seattle had on their team when they high priced wise when they went to the Super Bowls those years. I don't know. Am I naive to think that maybe that could work? Like if you have the high priced quarterback. And then he's taken up.
It's obviously super optimistic. Are we that lucky? No,
we're never that lucky.
Let's get to the dance first. Let's get into the playoffs first before we worry. Which I think can happen. But the Super Bowl, I don't know, man.
We shouldn't be talking about playoffs.
No. Yeah, let's just get
this
year and see if Gase is here next year.
Yeah, that's got to be like the question number one, I think. What's going on in the chat over there? Who says Sam will get that much money? Sam is gonna be a desired quarterback, I think. If the Jets did not re-sign him, Pete, I believe Sam would get a lot of money. That's my thinking there. Will we hear I See Ghosts this year? Says Tommy R. I don't think so. Look, it's not as uncommon a term. Like, I know that Jet fans and everyone, a lot of the coaching staff was pretty ticked off that
People
the
who
NFL
say that must have not played football, because that's a really common thing. You're seeing ghosts, or you're hearing footsteps. That's in everything. I heard that a ton. Obviously, it's high school versus NFL, but even the guys who played in the NFL say that. I asked Marcus Coleman about that. He said that the guy said that. So ESPN did the typical ESPN thing and try to out the Jets and make the Jets look bad by airing that. So that is what it is. You know, the seeing ghosts thing. Yeah, he was getting zero blitz all the time and couldn't see guys from behind him and getting hit. So yeah, he started to see ghosts a little bit. That's typical for a young quarterback. But people, Sam is trash and all this stuff. I saw one comment, he's the most mechanically flawed quarterback with the worst coach. Okay, I would like these people to come on and tell me how he's mechanically flawed, and tell me about his actual footwork, tell me about his upper body, tell me about his arm slot. Tell me all the stuff that you're talking about that you're just going to claim that you know that you probably don't know. I'm willing to challenge that, whoever that was. So there's some stuff. Yeah, he steps in the bucket sometimes, but could you even tell me what step in the bucket is? I would like to see that guy even talk about that and what it does and why that affects your upper body. Does he know? I'm going to guess not.
There you go.
Shooting darts, Joe. This is why you guys need to tune into Joe's stream tomorrow on Jets X Factor. What is it, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock? Is that what you're doing, Joe? 6 to
8-ish. It depends on how many people we got. If we can get half of what you got here, I would like to answer to a lot of the people. But like I said, it's it's going to be a little bit more film centric in terms of talking like strengths and weaknesses and things like that. But I want to talk some storylines, and I want to answer some stupid questions and ask people if I put mustard or ketchup on a hot dog. I want to answer some stupid stuff. I have 2 rules, and it's the way I don't trust you. If you have a combination of you either put ketchup on hot dog or you sleep with your socks on, I'm already I'm not trusting of you.
I can't sleep with socks on. That's
okay.
That's
yeah,
terrible.
If you sleep with socks on, you're just a terrible person.
Right.
It hurts.
See,
It's like,
exactly. See what I'm talking about?
You're probably a Patriot fan if you sleep with socks on. That's what it is.
Or a Bills fan who's in your chat.
So NY Sports MC made an interesting point. He said having extra picks from Jamal can help with the second contract quarterback because the high end picks are on rookie deals. So that's basically what we were getting at with like the left tackle, the cornerback hopefully, and all that sort of stuff. That would really be okay. Here's a good question. Sorry, I'm kind of skipping this. Mitt Flair says, "Is a hot dog a sandwich?" Joe, let's get your take.
I think technically you have to say it is. It's meat between bread. If you're doing technicalities. So yes, it's a sandwich. I guess, but if you're doing technicalities, but I don't know. I'm not too sure. I feel bad for talking about sandwiches. I feel bad for people who've never had pork roll who are in this chat.
Whoa, hold on, wait.
It's pork roll. Don't call it friggin' Taylor.
It's Taylor ham. It's Taylor ham.
What do you call Captain Crunch? Do you call it Kellogg's, or do you call it Captain Crunch what it actually is? Because on the thing it says Taylor ham pork roll. It's pork roll. It's not Taylor ham. Taylor ham is the brand. It's not the product. I will fight anybody on that. And people who say there's no Central Jersey, I hate you. There is a Central Jersey. It's a complete difference between Central Jersey.
I won't say
North
but
and
there's
South.
There's a division of pork roll and Taylor ham for sure. Once you get to North Jersey, it's Taylor ham. When you go down towards the shore,
but do you call do you call your toothpaste because it's the product, or do you call your toothpaste whatever brand it is? Do you call it Arm & Hammer? Oh, I'm gonna put some Arm & Hammer on my toothbrush. Or you call it.
Let me ask you. When
I used to make copies, I would say, I got to Xerox something, which I didn't.
That's right.
What do you? Parents say Xerox. Yeah,
hey,
Joe, you put a Band-Aid on? I put a Band-Aid on. I don't put an adhesive bandage on. I put a Band-Aid on.
What do you clean your ears with, Joe?
Oh, you're going to Q-tip?
I'm going to Q-tips.
It's not a cotton swab or whatever.
That's right. And I'm going to say this about hot dogs. I got to say this about hot dogs, too. It's not a sandwich because it is not split, the bread. It's not between bread. That's the requirement for a sandwich is 2 separate slices of bread. It's not one taco.
Is that in the actual definition?
It's a taco.
It is not.
It's not a sandwich.
It's a taco.
Oh man.
Right, and it's Taylor.
Steven. I see Steven in the account. I'm not going to mention exactly where I'm from, but I'm in Monmouth County too. I see Steven in there.
Yeah, Morris County over here. But so let me say this. I went to Los Angeles for the first time, and I went to a breakfast place on Melrose Avenue, and I asked for Taylor ham, egg, and cheese, and I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I said, "Oh, excuse me, pork roll," and she went, "Well," she said, "Okay," and she came back, and she brought me a pork chop on a bagel with. It's what I was like a fucking pork. She was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Why don't you talk to me about it when I'm ordering?" She gave me a pork chop with eggs and cheese on it, and I want to tell you guys something. It was fantastic. It was delicious.
Anything that comes off a pig is delicious. I'm like convinced of it. I love bacon. I love pork roll or Taylor ham. I don't really have a
there's
like.
so
I
there's
call it
different
Taylor
there's
ham.
different brands of pork roll that are not all Taylor ham. So when you're ordering a different product of pork roll, you're ordering pork roll, you're not ordering Taylor ham because what they don't have Taylor ham.
But here's the thing: I'm
That's
not
fair.
ordering.
I've never
those
heard
shit
that
brands.
argument before. It makes perfect sense. It makes.
I'm not ordering
100%
them
sense.
shit brands. I'm ordering one brand.
You know what? We're gonna have another
I
podcast
just want
10
to
to 11 fighting about pork roll. If you guys want to live stream,
just non-stop. Anyone else call full pizza a pie? Oh, that's an
It's a
interesting
pizza
question.
pie.
I don't know. It's a pizza pie. Yeah, the whole thing. I mean, I say, hey, I'm getting
La
pizza pie, or
Beats.
I'm getting some za. I'll say that a lot more frequently now.
No, that can't be allowed to take root.
You don't like saying za? I say za.
No,
subs versus
That's a
we can
bike
go into
park
a long
thing.
dark thing here, guys.
it's a sub.
That's all right.
It's a
We
sub.
got like 6 minutes. I got no more jet stuff I got to fire off, so I'm good with rattling off this BS. I didn't learn za until I managed the bike park over at Mountain Creek for a year, and the guys in there would just say, "Oh, you want some za?" I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" They're like, "Oh, pizza." I was like, that slang. I like it.
Yeah,
We'll roll with that.
yeah, no, like I said, Central Jersey, there's definitely different. South Jersey is like the Philly fans, then you have New York people who come to Central Jersey to go to the beach. I don't call it the shores, the beach, because I'm actually from the beach.
Wow.
I call it the
but
shore.
yeah, because you're from North Jersey, probably, right? So
Right. Oh,
the
yeah,
North,
I'm from New
the
York.
North people come here, and then we hate you guys for the entire summer because you ruin our summer, and then you guys leave, and then we're stuck with either North or South. We're neither. We're Central. So it's it is what it is. North people are more like New York, and then you have the South people who are like Philly, and we're the actual Jersey here. So
Ooh, I like this spin. Here's the thing, though. Since I left back in 2005, one thing I've learned is the whole state sucks.
yeah, it does.
Yeah,
So
you're not
the
wrong.
benefit of New Jersey is you could do everything in New Jersey, but the taxes are so high, the
Oh my God,
population,
yeah.
it's bad. And Long Island, Jersey, no, I'm not. I'm all out on Long Island. But
Nope. Sorry. Get out of here,
yeah,
cheese
I'm
boys.
out on New York.
No way.
New York, that's the
Not
reason
touching-
everybody's moving out of there right now.
Okay, so here's an interesting one. Frank, Canadian bacon.
Out. Not a big fan. I think it's stupid. And for Steven, yes, I am. So Canadian bacon's like chewy. I like my bacon crispy. I think Canadian bacon sucks.
Oh, it's snappy, like
I
a
don't like it.
soubrette. Oh, I'm a big Canadian bacon fan.
I
We went off the rails
I didn't
here.
have a breakfast sandwich. I was very picky as a kid growing up. I did not have a breakfast sandwich until like my senior year of high school, and then I was just like, crap, this is delicious. I went my whole life. My dad was real picky, so like association, I wound up being picky. So like I didn't have Chinese food till I was a junior in high school. Like really weird stuff going on in the
Also
in
agree.
the Ryan household. You don't like Chinese food?
If
I'm a big Thai guy.
If I'm gonna eat shitty food, Thai food or like really bad
love
food.
Thai food.
But Chinese food all kind of tastes the same. It's all greasy stuff. But no, the thing that's bad about Jersey too is there's no good barbecue up here. I went to South Carolina.
That's true.
And it completely ruined barbecue for me here. I can't eat anymore.
Did you have the yellow South Carolina Gold?
I don't know.
Did you have the yellow barbecue?
I just know.
That's
I just
the
know
shit.
it was. I just knew it was delicious, and it felt you
Hey.
could just pinch it a little bit, and it fell off the bone.
So two things we're doing on this cross-country road trip. One is everywhere we go, we try the barbecue there, and the other one is the pizza, right? So when I was in St. Louis, they have a very interesting pizza. It's round, but they cut it in squares, right? So that's the first thing.
Mhm.
Number two, it's like a cracker. It's a thick, chewy, it's like very thin crust, but it's like a chewy cracker. And then they use a cheese called Provel, which is Swiss, mozzarella, cheddar. That's
Really
Swiss,
interesting.
and it was fucking great, man. I thought I was gonna hate it. I had it just be. It was like I was blown away. It was great.
So MN says we get a slice on the island and an egg sandwich. SANGWICH sandwich. Slice on the island. All right. So would you
What
consider?
is Long Island?
It's fucking weird. I don't know. I'm not a
Long
big Long
Island.
Island person. I went to school up in upstate New York, and there was like a bonding experience over people who were not from Long Island because there's so many people on Long Island.
They
that
ruined
you go up there-
Jersey, every Jersey
Yeah.
image of us. I go to Germany, like, like the Jersey
Oh,
Shore.
Jersey
That's
Shore.
not Jersey. That's not
No, please no.
It's a bunch of
that's Long
fist-pumping
Island.
Guidos who wear gold chains and guinea tees to the clubs. I hate it. I don't
It's
like
so
Long Island.
bad.
I hate all Staten Island, all that. Get out of here.
We got UCF Jaguar in the chat. Yo, UCF Jaguar, you guys just got rid of NGAKOUE and Fournette. Are you guys excited to have Trevor Lawrence on your team next year? I want to see that response before we jump off for the night.
We talked about that. I'd rather talk about George Campbell than that.
I want to see UCF Jaguars response to that, and there's like a 30-second delay on this too, so I'm waiting for this.
All right,
guys, we got 90 likes. We got nearly 200 people in this chat. Let's get us over 100. I know you guys can do it. All right, he goes, we're looking to unload Josh Allen and Minshew if interested. You're looking to get rid of Josh Allen?
I'll take Josh Allen.
I'll take Josh Allen. I mean, we kind of like oh man, God, that was I don't know how I feel about the whole Quinnen Williams thing. It scares me going into this season not knowing what we're actually going to get out of him. I just want to see some sacks.
What do you think of Quinnen Williams?
I had a film breakdown on him. His and again, you guys can go watch it. His college film was elite. His technique, his hand usage, his gap penetration, his reading of defenses, his understanding of blocks, his leverage, it was all elite. This year they were using him as that picker in stunts a lot to take up guys instead of actually penetrate like he did at Alabama. So, and when he was asked to penetrate, there was times he was a little bit heavy in his hands where he started to lean into his hands a little bit. He's a little bit overzealous. But I would obviously like to see him in a more penetrating role this year, have more faith in him to get to the quarterback. But I think he was a little bit overzealous. The ankle injury didn't help him, but his college tape was elite, man. I liked him a lot coming out of the draft, a lot. And he was 21 last year. So I think him building up to his second year, a lot of guys, I know, Ryan, you've talked about it a billion times. You look at Geno Atkins, you look at Gerald McCoy, all these guys in their first year don't produce a lot. Quinnen Williams falls in that boat. He still had good tape. He just didn't show up a ton on the broadcast, but I don't think he's going to be a Leonard Williams type, even though Leonard Williams, I think, is a little bit undervalued to Jets fans. He's not trash. He's still a solid player. But Quinnen Williams is he's going to be legit.
That's awesome.
All right, guys, we have gotten to the end of our show. So let's go around. We'll do a little bit of a last second sound off. Green Bean, any last words for the passengers out there?
Say, enjoy Javelin Guidry, because he's not going to be on the Jets very much longer. That's my hot take. Thank you.
Joe, any last words for the panel?
Follow the stream tomorrow, and I guess sticking with the cornerbacks, Lamar Jackson is overrated by Jets fans because he's a familiar name who fell into your 6th-round mock draft.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to follow these guys. Their links are in the description down below. Thank you guys for tuning in. Follow, or not even follow, but just go down into the description. Look for the CBS Pick'em League. It's totally free. Get involved in that. We're going to be giving away stuff every week for the winners of that. But thank you so much for tuning in. My name's Ryan. I've been your pilot, and I will see you guys next week.